Welcome to the jungle. I thought you'd never get here. I stand here humbled by the magnificence of nature and your passion and support for the Greensboro Science Center. Trust me, Expedition Rainforest is no ordinary project. You might expect to see something this extraordinary, maybe in New York City, Chicago, LA, but we're on the verge of something extraordinary right here in the heart of the Battleground Parks District, Greensboro. So here we stand on truly revolutionary ground. And now Greensboro is on the verge of a new revolution, a revolution in science and tourism unlike this community has ever seen. So welcome to the Greensboro Biodome. Follow me, let's go explore more. Very hot in there. All right. Let's get this started. Welcome to the jungle. Whew. First of all, thank you for being here today on this wet rainforest-like Wednesday to introduce the Biodome project and the ARC project. Pull my glasses out. The question is, how did we get here? How did we get to the point of building what I think will be the most magnificent new structure in our community from where we started in 1957? So it started for me in 2004, inheriting a really strong, nice museum, but a museum not really known for a lot of change. So we wrote a master plan called Science City USA. We didn't know it would work. We said it would work, but we didn't know it would work. And then we built Animal Discovery, roughly 2008, and the numbers grew. Then we got a bond referendum. Thank you, voters. And the numbers grew. We built an aquarium, and the numbers really grew. And then an aquarium expansion, then museum renovations, and then Revolution Ridge, to the point where this year we just broke 630,000 guests. It continues to grow. And now, we're about to do something that really is extraordinary, and that's what we're here for today. To introduce you to the project, Expedition Rainforest, Greensboro Biodome, and the ARC. I'll tell you, I've been in this field now since 1990, and the mountaintop, the pinnacle of success in our museum slash science center slash zoological park world is to, one, be able to build an aquarium. We did that, and we expanded it. Two is to build something like this, a tropical rainforest biodome. And think about it, maybe if we're lucky, 5% of Americans, probably a lot less than that, will ever have the opportunity to go into the rainforest and experience what it's like. I was blessed as a Peace Corps volunteer many years ago, and it's hard, but the diversity that lives there, the magnificence of the space is awe-inspiring. So let's take a journey real quick into what Biodome is going to be for this community. It's a 5-story forest fueled by the sun. So, the Wiseman Aquarium outside, when you walked in, that's 3 stories. Imagine 2 stories above that, and you're driving down Lawndale at night, and you see this glowing red orb of life. It's going to be a transformative size and space for this organization, and I'll get to it in a second, some really cool technology. It's a tourism game changer fueled by our voters, thank you, our stakeholders, and our supporters. None of this would happen without you and our voters. None of it. That is the key, is making Greensboro a richer place to live through science and tourism. It's an architectural milestone for North Carolina. So this looks kind of an odd drawing, right? You see these odd pillow-like things on the roof. Well, it's going to be a first of its kind in our state, and I think, aside from the Bronx Zoo, the first of its kind on the eastern seaboard. Only Europe, Asia, and other places are using this technology, a Teflon fabric. So imagine this fabric. In fact, we've got pieces of it here that you can kind of explore a little bit later. Then you put two of them together and you blow it up and fill it with air, with a system that's always redundant, so it makes sure it's full of air 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's being used in Canada, so it can handle snow loads. It's insulatory, and it lets in a maximum amount of sunlight to grow this magnificent forest. So that's going to be huge for us. It's a big city attraction to help transform Greensboro into a one-of-a-kind city of the future. One of the things we're most proud about is when Brent and others bring these potential companies out here before anyone knows they might be coming to Greensboro, and he asks us, convince them that we're a dynamic, innovative community. And so we go for the jugular. We go for it. And we try to help in that economic development piece for this community. Probably what's most important to us as a staff is this is going to be a transformational portal to exotic lands designed to immerse, educate, and inspire. Again, very few people will have the chance, like I did, to explore with a machete in the tropical rainforests. It's a hard place to go. The bugs are intense, but man, the diversity of life is spectacular. So we'll have endangered species, art, and science all within this space. And very importantly to you, iconic proof that public-private partnerships can yield extraordinary results. When passionate citizens come together with passionate leaders, great things happen. And that's what's happening right here today. So a little bit about ARC, because we're going to focus a lot on the biodome, but a little bit about ARC that's very important to cover. So ARC is what you'll see when you leave the biodome. It kind of completes the story, basically. So imagine you're in this atmosphere of life and science and trees and animals, and you're immersed as if you're pretending you're in the forest. And then you go back behind the scenes and you see the keepers, the curators, the veterinarians, all these people doing the work to preserve those wild spaces. It completes the story. You're in the wild and you're in the lab where all that hard work takes place. And hopefully it inspires new generations to become, wow, I can do that in the future. I can become a scientist. I can become a wildlife biologist or whatever it happens to be. It ignites their STEM interests, and that's the goal of this project. ARC connects our guests with the heroes in science, as I just described. ARC allows our guests to see animal care and conservation in action. There it is. Corals that are one day going back to the wild. Fish that are being bred for SSP breeding programs. Sea turtles that have been rescued from the coast because of cold stuns maybe and are being rehabilitated right here in Greensboro. Those kinds of things, it's right there, right in front of you. ARC is a rehabilitation and breeding center for sea turtles and more. I mentioned that. ARC is a hands-on experience with stingrays and new technology. Technology on the gangplank as you walk through, where you can look through and peer deeper into the actual tanks that were being exposed there for the visitors. And then ARC is a behind-the-scenes journey that is now front and center. In our last capital campaign, Think Big, we kind of say this flippantly, but it's so true. The two things that sold this organization's move in the forward direction was technology and penguins. Because you get to see this incredibly cool technology that we're creating right here on site that very few others are doing in our state, and then you get to go meet a penguin. And you get to immerse in that whole world of an endangered species, probably the second most endangered animal, penguin on planet Earth. And there it is, right at your feet. And you're learning about it and smelling it and all those great things in that experience. So ARC is a very important piece of the science story for this project. Okay, and I know this is what we get asked the most. What are the details? You've been hiding this for a long time. What are the details? So basically, it's going to be from our tortoise exhibit on the outside throughout the entire facility, a football field long. That's quite a journey, going through these winding paths filled with the forest. And roughly 32,000 square feet of indoor space. Currently, the Science Center has roughly 100,000 square feet of indoor space, and so we're going to be adding 30,000 more to that. A large tropical rainforest exhibit and aviary. So you won't just walk to an exhibit and there's the animal. you're surrounded by them at all times. There's going to be exotic birds from multiple continents flying around you, breeding around you, eating around you, other things on top of you maybe. But that's part of the rainforest experience, complete and total immersion. A breeding facility for SSP animals. We're an AZA accredited facility, and so we are very much involved in breeding programs for these endangered and threatened species. A state-of-the-art conservancy growing over $1 million of tropical plants. So it's a giant greenhouse, an absolutely giant greenhouse. And it shows this picture here, they're touching the top. Because it's hard to get, the first trees we get are as high as maybe 23 to 25 feet tall. So imagine they eventually grow to fill that 5-story canopy. It's going to be absolutely amazing over decades of time. We are an 84-degree year-round oasis for citizens and tourists. So imagine a miserable February day. It's freezing outside. You get to go walk inside, 84 degrees, and immerse yourself into that. Now, you may come out later with a cold, but that's not going to be our problem. You have to figure that out yourself. Roughly $30 million in construction and maybe $2 to $4 million in upfit costs. So that's our goal, and that is the budget we're working through right now. And it completes the Greensboro Science Center's 4-in-1, one-of-a-kind, top 5 North Carolina attraction. We believe, and it's the next slide, because we have now reached 630,000 guests, and we're about to expand our parking lot, we are absolutely 100% confident we can reach 750,000 guests coming to this 35-acre site on a regular basis from all 100 counties of North Carolina, and certainly from, we've tracked through zip codes, all 50 states. So it is going to transform tourism through that lens of science for Greensboro. And of course, science education is STEM advancement for everybody, including our students to come here. A local, state, and global conservation programs. Currently, our conservation program is working locally, statewide, and globally on multitudes of projects. A lot of people don't know that, but you can learn more about that later. Projected recurring annual impact of $130 million a year. Let me set the stage for that. When we did our first economic impact study, I think it was before the first bond in 2009, it was showing, if I remember correctly, about $11 million of recurring impact. 11 million. Not bad, that's recurring money. Before we even opened Revolution Ridge, which is enormous for us, it jumped to $77 million of recurring impact. After Revolution Ridge, our guesstimate is over 100 million, and now with this project, I think this is low, but $130 million of recurring impact coming from 35 acres that people just come to visit for fun. It's a pretty amazing thing. Science-based tourism works everywhere it's tried. Quality of life for future business growth. Just like I mentioned before, people want to live in a community that has diverse, dynamic things to do with their families. We're trying to fill that void. And then marketing and branding for our city. And of course, we've all known that we've been tournament town for a long time. Well, that's great, and we'll continue to be so, but science is making its way into that storyline, and the Greensboro Science Center is helping to lead that. So, timelines. Knock on wood. Groundbreaking this fall. That's the plan. Substantial completion in June of 2026. Not that far away. Animal acclimation. So once they build it, there's just plants in there. We got to get the animals in, the birds acclimated. They got to find their niches. They got to find where they're going to live. We have to work all that out. That's going to take a little while. So probably June through August for that. And the goal is a September 26th, maybe with our See to Believe Gala, maybe, grand opening of this magnificent new facility. So what's the experience? You're going to see it here in a second, because we're going to unveil this, and you're going to see the inside from a model perspective. But again, starting with technology, our tech team has come up with a way, and I think you'll see this a lot maybe in like Times Square, those kind of places, but it's called Naked Eye 3D. So imagine you're walking through the doors, your family's coming in, you're all calm and everything, and then you see this screen that looks like it's 3D, because it kind of is, and these fish are coming up the river, they're coming up the river, they're coming up the river, and boom, 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 they're banging on the glass. These piranha are attacking you right as you walk in. Welcome to the jungle. That's the idea. The realities of life in the Amazon start this experience with technology in your face. Then you move into a dark, secretive area, life under the canopy. You know, 80% of life in the rainforest lives here and below. That's where the creepy crawlies are, the reptiles, the amphibians, all the great stuff that we want to highlight in this space. So that'll be your first greeting in a very dark, amazing area. And then you emerge into the canopy. Boom, there it is. A football field in front of you of life, trees, animals, sound, noise, smells, you name it. It's going to all be in there. So that is where it's going to be. That's going to be the transformative view, that first perspective of awe the second you walk in there. Some of the creatures, this is a small snippet of the creatures that'll live there. Sloth, toucan, clouded leopards, Chinese alligators. They're kind of in the shape of the American alligator back in the 1960s and 70s. Again, breeding program for them. Aldabra Galapagos tortoises, electric eels. Eels that if you touch them, get ready. Spider monkeys, freshwater stingrays, golden lion tamarins, and all kinds of giant colorful birds, and small ones too. And an immersion in culture in these locations. Yes, we are going to be building our version of a pyramid inside this space, and that will be the home of some of our primates. This was partly inspired by when I got to go on a cruise with my parents into the Central America, and we walked up on a pyramid very much like this, and sitting on top were monkeys that had taken it over. And so we weren't allowed to go up there because it was their space, their territory, and we were totally cool with that. So, with that real quick perspective, we're honored today to have Deputy Secretary for Natural Resources, Jeff Michael, here. This is the first time he's heard this, as well as all of you, and I'd like to invite him up here for a few comments. Yeah.
Well, how do you follow that? Gosh, this is the first time I've met Glenn. Not my first time at the museum. We used to bring our kids here. My wife's family was from Greensboro and just loved this museum. So I hate that they're grown up now, but I think this is inspiring enough that even as young adults, they would love to come back. On behalf of Governor Roy Cooper and my boss, Secretary Reed Wilson, I want to extend greetings and congratulations to you for this exciting day. As Deputy Secretary of Natural Resources, I have the really tough job of overseeing our state parks, our state zoo, state aquariums, the Museum of Natural Sciences in downtown Raleigh, as well as our Land and Water Stewardship Division, which is where our Natural Heritage Program is. Now, I've been in this role for 3 years, and I don't know, Glenn, if I've ever been in a place that seemed to capture all 5 of my divisions in one place. As I was hearing you talk about the zoological aspects of this, the aquariums, the setting here in a, what'd you say, 35-acre park-like setting, the research and the education that will take place. This is what we do at our sites throughout DNCR. If Secretary Wilson was here, he would tell you that we are known as the Department of Fun in state government, but doing what we do and stewarding the resources that we do, we don't do it alone. We do it in partnership with others across the state, and that includes many statewide agencies like the Science Center here in Greensboro. You are part of our science network, one of our recipients of the state science grants that our Museum of Natural Sciences administers. And if Secretary Wilson was here, I asked him if he had any particular thoughts that he wanted me to share, and he said, I just continue to be blown away by what they are doing in Greensboro. They are a model for all of our science centers and museums across the state. And he really believes this as well. He's a son of a scientist and a school teacher. He really was instrumental in launching the new North Carolina Science Trail, which you are a site, a destination along that. It's a virtual tour, but it's intended for educators and parents to be able to go online and figure out where they can take their students or their children to learn about science. I would be remiss if I didn't say, given that passion for education, in particular science education, Secretary Wilson has started a new initiative within our department called Learning Happens Here. We've just brought on our first director of that program. And the goal is to do even more, to be more intentional about how we bring together the resources that we have in state government, but also in partnership with others and communities around the state to help people understand those as resources for educating people. So we look forward to the Science Center and what you have here. being part of that Learning Happens Here initiative. Glenn talked a lot about tourism and the impact that sites like this have in the economic well-being of a community like Greensboro. We truly believe that as well. In fact, we've started a program called Gateway Communities. I think here we are in the Gate City. In many ways, you have that opportunity to be a gateway community for people who are looking for science tourism to really begin to do their studies. I was struck by your opening timeline when I saw September 2026, because we're also anticipating the opening in June of 2026 of the new Asia exhibit at the North Carolina Zoo just down the road. So my mind was already going to all kinds of thought processes about how you, being Greensboro, the largest urban area closest to Asheboro, might have an opportunity to put together some package tours over multiple days for people to really immerse themselves in this kind of experience. And we don't have those sorts of accommodations in Asheboro. So you really could be that destination, not only to visit this extraordinary facility, but also the enthusiasm and excitement that's going to be happening at the zoo. But none of it takes place without civic leadership. And as I look around the room, and I've already met a few of you, it is clear there is an extraordinary level of civic leadership here in Greensboro coming together, public-private partnerships, the philanthropic community. And I'm not even aware of all that has gone into this, but you don't see a facility like this coming online without that kind of commitment and support. Final thing I will say that I heard Glenn talk about, and it is so true, I can tell you from experience, on that cold February day, this will be a wonderful respite. And I say that from experience because I chaperoned my son's 5th grade class to DC a couple of years ago, and it was probably the coldest, windiest day in DC history. And as we were touring the Capitol, and where did we make a beeline to? The Botanical Gardens right there next to the U.S. Capitol. And I think we hung out there for about an hour, and it was an extraordinary experience. So I just wanted to say he was not lying when he was mentioning that. I could say more, but I know you want to get on to seeing the unveiling. We have some other speakers, but thank you for allowing us to be a part of this today, and congratulations again on such an extraordinary project here in Greensboro. Thank you.
So, unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. Dan Ash, the president and CEO of AZA, our accrediting body, wanted to be here, but they're in the middle of strategic and master planning themselves right now. So he did tape a message for us. So this just proves our national presence as an organization. I served on the Accreditation Commission for 11 years, on the board as well, and AZA is that gold standard. Basically, there are over 2,000 USDA licensed organizations that call themselves zoos and aquariums in America. Currently, about 240 meet that gold standard. So let's hear a few messages from Dan.
Hello, Greensboro, and congratulations to the Greensboro Science Center for this incredible and incredibly visionary Biodome. I'm Dan Ash, the president and CEO of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. AZA accreditation is the global gold standard for modern zoos, aquariums, and science centers. And this Biodome and the experiences it will offer visitors is the kind of game-changing innovation that's at the heart of our professional community. AZA accredited facilities don't compete against each other, but they certainly compete with one another to be the very best at supporting and inspiring communities by providing truly unique opportunities to learn, to grow, and to be entertained. What you're doing here will inspire others to achieve even more. There's an art to making learning as fun as it is purposeful, and the Greensboro Science Center, with its new Biodome, could give a masterclass. You're an AAM accredited science center, and you're an AZA accredited zoo and aquarium, and you're a valued and invaluable community asset. That's why every year AZA accredited facilities attract more visitors than all professional sports combined, and why our members are consistently rated among the top visitor attractions in their states and communities. And that's why, with this kind of transformational investment, the Greensboro Science Center is on its way to hosting more than 750,000 annual guests. Congratulations, Greensboro. And on behalf of the entire AZA community, let me express appreciation and admiration to Glenn Dobrigos and his team for this accomplishment. Keep going, keep growing, and keep showing what is possible by combining the power of life and science.
Thank you, Dan. Next, I'd like to introduce someone I've known for an awfully long time. We've been friends a long time, and the whole Battleground Parks District concept is his brainchild. So let me introduce Interim City Manager Chris Wilson.
I don't normally write things down, but this is pretty important to me. And I'm going to go off script. Today I want to talk a little bit about why we're here. So let me first say good morning to the true believers that are here today. If you're here today, I think that you believe in the Greensboro Science Center. I think you believe in the things that have happened here and are going to happen here. And I got to tell you, Greensboro is about believers. Greensboro pioneered so many things. Greensboro was a pioneer in independence. Greensboro was a pioneer in civil rights. Greensboro was a pioneer in textile. And today, Greensboro is a pioneer in aviation. Greensboro Science Center is exactly what we embody. If you're here, you believe. So I got to tell you, Glenn and I have known each other for a while. In particular, Glenn is a big part of why we're here today. He hates when I do this. So look around the room, you're going to see all the team members that Glenn has inspired and worked with and provided a platform for using their intellectual capital. And what you're going to see today was built by them. You have that right here in your city, and that's phenomenal. But Glenn's really good at inspiring everybody, including me. So many years ago, I was on the hill between Country Park and the Science Center. And at that time, I managed all your parks here in Greensboro. And I was there to look at some erosion. And while I was there, a colleague said, hey, you know, this facility, this property, the property up the way, all these things were connected at one time, and they functioned together. And I said, that's phenomenal. And I really wasn't a person who commonly shared my creative side at that point. I was more of a, what you'd call a doer. I like to get to the work, and I like to make things happen. But in the comfort of friends, I would share ideas, and then I'd pass them on and hope they would take them forward. And I told him at that time, this is what, 300-400 acres? He said, yeah, give or take. I said, you've got all these unique features and functions. What if a federal park and a city park and a county trail and a nonprofit run science center all functioned together and created, at that time, what we called a super park? And he said, you know, you got to go meet this guy, Glenn, the new director at the Science Center. And I kind of scoffed at that, because the idea of not just getting to the work and doing and going and meeting somebody new, that wasn't on my radar. He said, I promise you, Chris, you're going to like Glenn, and you two are going to find ways to work together. So I did just that. I went and met with Glenn. And when I first met him, I thought he was crazy.
You were right.
And I was absolutely right. But I loved it. I loved it. It didn't take long for Glenn to start sharing these ideas. We're going to expand the zoo. We're going to have this creature called a cassowary, which was terrifying when he explained it. We're going to have pygmy hippos. Hey, Chris, we're going to have virtual people telling their story. We're going to have treetop adventures. We're going to have an inland aquarium. I want a giant octopus. I'm looking at this guy like, what are you talking about? But I loved every bit of it. My favorite was, hey, Chris, we're going to do a ropes course, and people will slightly go over the tigers. Which caused me a little bit of gray hair. Here we are today. Look around you. All these things have happened thanks to this great team, thanks to Glenn. You know, the irony is when Glenn did these things and when he talked about it, even when I saw him talk to groups, you know, people would look at him like he was alien. The only thing that would have made him more alien was to say, "I come in peace" at the end. But when you listened, you heard the passion. You recognized what Glenn is to our community, what his team is to our community. And it inspired others. It inspired others like me. Glenn and I, with the help of two folks who are sitting on the front row today, Councilman Zach Matheny and Mayor Vaughn, went and begged for our first pot of seed money to do a plan called the Battleground Parks District. And today you can zip line right over the Battleground Parks District, or you can ride your favorite dragon across the lake, and more to come. Glenn continued to push me. He knew I was a parks guy. I did wildlife education early in my career. He continued to push and say, you know, we're doing this whole wing around conservancy, and we've got some really important folks who believe in that. And you guys can do that too. You know, there's this whole thing around sustainability. Well, here I sit today. My last gig as interim, we started the Office of Sustainability for the City of Greensboro. And today, Dr. Dorstein's sitting with us, our new leadership person. And we started this whole effort around sustainability for the City of Greensboro. So Glenn's had a huge influence on my life, but he's had a huge influence on your life too. And I want you to think about that, because today, now more than ever, we need believers. We need you to believe in what can be. And this, the Biodome, represents exactly that. But I got to tell you, there's more to come. I promise that. Glenn, on behalf of the City of Greensboro, I want to thank you for everything you've done and your team. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and the influence you've had on not only our community, but me. Thank you.
I have to admit, that was the first time I've been called an alien. I feel like it sometimes, though, I got to admit. Next, slide. So, an extraordinary supporter in the mayor. I want to share a quick story. When we were looking at the most recent bond referendum, 2022, I believe, we had sat in this room as a board and a staff with our new master plan at the time, the Gateway Project. We had a board staff retreat. After that retreat, some of us sensed that something wasn't right. The board loved the ideas, but it lacked an iconic project. So I said, give us 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we came back with the Biodome Arc project. Basically, it was taking concepts from that master plan and kind of smashing them together a little bit into one iconic project. Because guess what? That's what Greensboro citizens are used to now. What's next? What's next? What's next? They want it big. So the mayor was at a gathering out here. I don't remember what it was before the bond referendum. And I walked up to her with a picture, I believe, and said, would the council and you support a biodome? I'll never forget the look on her face. Because you say biodome, it's like when you say aquarium, people go, what? You say biodome, people go, what? The instant curiosity is there, and I could see it in her eyes. And she said yes, and we never looked back since that point forward. So thank you for that. That one look inspired us to not look back. So thank you. So I'd like to introduce Mayor Vaughn.
Good morning. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here. And don't we really have a treasure in Glenn? And I know that this is about the Biodome. It's not about Glenn, but you really can't have one without the other. And I want to thank you and your board and the taxpayers for always pushing this a little bit further. We've talked about the future. I want to look back a little bit. I moved here in the late 80s, and I had 2 young boys at the time, and I remember coming out here for birthday parties and to walk through. And, and if you had the whole experience, it might take 2 hours. And, the pendulum, I love, keep it, whatever you do. I love the pendulum. And the big exciting thing was the dinosaur bone room. Now I have grandchildren. Those children have children. And we come out here, and what you can do would take a weekend, if not more, to see all of these wonderful different events. This is a great place. So as a resident, I am really excited about this, which I think is one reason why the voters really got behind the bonds, because it was something that we could all enjoy. I was really pleased when the Science Center and the school system came together with their most recent agreement to allow our school system to come through and see this wonderful property that we have out here. Maybe not all of the children wouldn't have had that experience. However, I was really thrilled when the Science Center came up with the $5 ticket. And that would be for families who were on SNAP benefits, that they could get a ticket for $5 for up to 5 family members. That was a game changer. 15%, how many?
About 50% steady now.
Yeah, that is a lot of people who are coming through this wonderful building, these wonderful grounds, and being able to see things that they wouldn't normally see. Glenn talked about somebody who might get bit with an idea. Well, looking at some of those pictures, they could get bit with other things too. An idea of what they might want to do as a career. Looking at just what's here now is really pretty amazing. And I'm sure that for some children, it could be life-changing, just like we had hoped that the Tanger Center, as kids got to see things that they might normally be able to do, that it would light a fire in them to have an interest in something else. So I love this place. I love spending time out here with my grandchildren. And we were over by the tree houses one day, and I saw a young woman with her little girl, and the little girl was just having the best time of her life. You could see that she thought she was a princess up in these tree houses, and it was just great. So I asked the mother, I said, how often do you come here? She said, we're here 3 times a week. She said to be able to come to this wonderful place and let her run some energy off and meet other kids, and that was not an unusual story. I love to stop people, if people don't stop me, and ask them what they like about a place like this. And the stories that I hear are just so affirming. The bonds for the Science Center always pass overwhelmingly. So we have to say a really big thank you to the voters who constantly buy into this plan and see how much bigger it gets. And really, when you look at the time frame, it's happened pretty quickly. And not lots of things in government happen quickly. So it's kind of nice that we step back, and you've got a great board and a great staff that made all of these wonderful things happen. I am so excited about the Biodome. That is really going to be changing. To have over 500,000 people a year come through this facility is no is no small matter. And now to know that we're even going to have more people come to see this Biodome, and it's a great holiday place. And I don't know if you're going to decorate the Biodome, because sometimes the holiday lights get pretty cold too. So might need to stop. So I am very excited. I just want to thank you all for this wonderful facility that we have out here. I always tell people, if you haven't been to the Science Center lately, you haven't been to the Science Center. This is a great facility, and I am so proud for the small role that I was able to play. Glenn, thank you for your leadership. Board, thank you for keeping him. And again, thank you to the taxpayers.
Okay, so a little housekeeping before we do the big unveil. Emily Hinton from Lindsay Architecture and Ryan Verstadt from Samet Corporation, who are lead designer and builders for this project, are here. They're in the back. So if you want to ask technical questions about design and structure, they are the ones, and I'm saying that to the media as well. Staff will also remain around to answer any questions you might have, because they are intimately involved in this project. If she cooperates, and I see a thumbs up, okay. If she cooperates, and she has, go meet in our lobby one of our first inhabitants of the Biodome. Indy, our sloth, is out for all to see. This took days and days and days of keeper patience to make this happen. So she's very shy, but she's getting less shy. And we'll have a multitude of sloth living in this exhibit. And then also we open our butterfly house. Thank you, Sue Cole, in this weekend. And if it's not raining, we invite you to go out there as well after this grand opening here and reveal. So I'd like to invite up Secretary, Mayor, Zach, Tara, and of course Chris to come up here, help me do this. We need like 3 on this side and 3 on this side. And we're going to pull it taut and pull it backwards for the big reveal of the new Greensboro Biodome Expedition Main. Okay, you want to go? Yeah, sure. Or right here in the middle. Right here in the middle. Okay.
I'll do whatever you tell me.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to lift and we're going to pull it towards them. Okay, gotcha. Voila. Everyone driving down Lawndale Drive from that point forward is going to be in awe of what they're going to see.